Okay, we're going to talk about the converse now. Now what the converse is when we actually are going to switch. Key word there, you're going to switch the hypothesis and the conclusion. So now what was the condition becomes the result, and what was the result becomes the condition. When you switch a conditional statement around and write the converse, it's not always true. Just because the original statement is true does not mean the converse is true. So basically we're going to switch which part the if goes with and which part the then goes with. So look at example 4. State the converse of the conditional in example 1. Okay, if we go back to example 1, example 1 says, if you have no more than 2 absences and a B average, then you can exempt your final. So what a converse is now the conclusion becomes the hypothesis and the hypothesis becomes the conclusion. So now I'm going to say, if you exempt your final, then you have no more than 2 absences and a B average. So now the standard, the condition is, if you exempt the final, then you have no more. So I'm going to switch them. So as I see here, I'm going to take the converse here, I'm going to switch it. So I'm going to say, if you exempt your final, which was our conclusion in the first one, now it's our hypothesis. It's if you exempt your final, then you have no more than 2 absences, and I'm just going to kind of ... there. Then you have no more than 2 absences, I'll go ahead and write it out, and a B average. What I've done again is I've switched where if and then are placed. The if is now in front of you exempt your final. The then is now in front of you have no more than 2 absences and a B average. In the original, the if is in front of you have no more than 2 absences and a B average, and then is in front of you exempt your final. So we've basically just switched the 2. So that's how you make a converse, okay? Converses are not always true. So now we're going to see, is the converse true or false? So let's look at this one. If an angle has a measure of 120, then it is an obtuse angle. Okay, I'm going to flip my 2 pieces. So instead of saying if an angle has a measure of 120, I'm going to now say if it is an obtuse angle. So I'm going to say if it is an obtuse angle, then, again, I'm going to take the then and I'm going to move it. I'll circle the if and then so you can see them. Then an angle measures 120. Okay, measures 120 degrees. Okay, the original statement is true. If an angle is 120 degrees, then it's obtuse. That's true. What about the second one? The converse says, if it is an obtuse angle, then an angle measures 120. Just because an angle is obtuse doesn't mean it's exactly 120. There are many types of obtuse angles. There's 130, there's 95, there's 97. Any angle that's between 90 degrees, greater than 90 and less than 180, could be obtuse. So just by saying an angle is obtuse doesn't mean it's going to be 120. So the converse is actually false, because this is not necessarily true all the time. So the converse is not always true. So that's what we look at with the converse. Again, converse, you're switching the hypothesis and the conclusion. So what was your hypothesis or the condition is now the conclusion, and what was the conclusion, the then part of your statement, is now the if part of your statement, the condition.